Said I should be ready to come.
All right, let's call to order the Board of Library Trustees for Committee of the Whole for Tuesday, September 6th, 2022. Roll call, please.
Trustee Ballard? Here. Trustee Meadow?
Here.
Yes. Trustee Smart?
Here.
Trustee Samari?
Here.
Trustee Suplet is absent. President Sick.
Here. All right, let's move on to item 1, Consultant for Strategic Planning Services.
Okay, so for our 2022 budget, we had included funds to update our strategic plan that went from 2018 to 2022. And over the past few months, we put out an RFP for strategic planning services. We received them back and we evaluated the proposals. And what you have in front of you is the scores and costs for the 4 firms that responded to the RFP. So we're very pleased with the responses. We had 4 very capable firms that we were hoping to work with one of them. So I've included a summary of our recommended proposer, Sarah Keiser Armstrong and Associates. She was the highest scoring proposal. We evaluated the 4 proposals by experience and qualifications, response to requirements, cost and value, and schedule. So she was the highest scoring of the 4, and the firm that we recommend going with, they provide the most comprehensive package. They include an evaluation plan, which was a la carte in a couple of the proposals. They also include the Spanish translation for the community survey and assessment of the plan after 1 year, all as part of the base cost. And then some of the key characteristics that contributed to the score were the focus on actionable steps in long-term evaluation of the plan. So they really put an emphasis on the metrics and measured outcomes. They have a lot of experience with some local libraries. They are local in the area, so they have a lot of comparable libraries that are fairly local. They did not require additional travel costs. There are an abundance of mid and large size library experience or preferences. And we worked with them in, I want to say 2015 for a community survey, and we were very pleased with their work then. They have an excellent reputation in the industry and their cost was most reasonable. And so based on those reasons and the score, we feel that Sarah Keiser Armstrong and Associates would be the firm that we'd like to move forward with. So I did outline some of the stages here that were outlined in the proposal, just to kind of give you an idea of what to expect as far as the data collection and assessment and some of the deliverables in each stage. So I wanted to bring this to you tonight just for discussion and try to address any questions that you have tonight or bring to the board meeting. So at the September board meeting, I'd like to seek authorization to move forward with them in an amount not to exceed $26,000. We did check references and all have been positive. I've also talked to other directors that have used Sarah Keiser Armstrong and Associates, and they were all positive as well. Since we are starting this process later in this year, the cost for the services will be split over 2 years. So we had $40,000 budgeted this year. It's estimated that we'll spend $18,200, and that's based on Sarah's timeline or proposed timeline. And then, so that would put about a third of it into next year. That would be $7,800 being billed in 2023 for that final piece. That we did budget for in the draft that you'll see tonight. We budgeted more than that $7,800, not knowing, that if we would be moving ahead with them. So we do have some money blocked in for next year for that.
Couple of things. One, she did do an excellent job in 2015, just so you know. 2, she is a former board member for the Illinois Library Association. And is very well respected in the industry in Illinois. So, and I think the fact that she's local and we're saving a lot of money on expenses for travel was kind of the one downside I think that we saw when we did the prior strategic plan when we were using people who were from out of town. I think it's full disclosure. We should disclose that she is John Keister's daughter. so that it's on the table and that we are being transparent. But she was very good in 2015, so had a very high marks.
Who did you use last time the strategic plan was done?
That was Library Strategies, who also put in a proposal.
They're in Minnesota.
They did a very good job. I mean, yeah, there was some travel involved and everything. But they did a very good job. But yeah, obviously with having, you know, Syracuse SK here local, that obviously helps. The one thing about Library Strategies is that they are all about libraries. Okay, 100%. Syracuse, I know, is very heavily into libraries, but I think she gets into some other public entities too. Is that correct?
I don't know.
I believe she did some limited work for park districts, but the majority of her work is with libraries.
And like Debbie said, she's very involved with the industry.
She has been she's an acclaimed, nationally recognized person in the industry. She was an up and coming leader for the Illinois Library Association. She's been involved with ALA.
Rails.
Yeah, Rails. Yeah, she was in Rails. So she is very well known and very well respected.
Now, a couple things I liked about what we're trying to do here, by the way, you know, the one, you know, for the implementation, you know, followed by the metrics and outcomes, obviously. Trustee Supwood, if he was here, he'd be all over that.
I was going to say that.
And would absolutely love that too. And the assessment of the plan after 1 year as part of the base cost. Is that going to be that they're going to look at, these were the strategic plans that you developed, and then we're going to go back and see how we're actioning towards getting them?
Yes. So there's an evaluation plan that comes after the strategic plan,
Right.
which helps us to set action moving forward and evaluate our outcomes of those actions. She is including that 1 year check-in to see how we're doing and then to update that evaluation plan. So it doesn't change the strategic plan at all, just the action plan or, you know, the evaluation plan moving forward.
Okay.
So it helps to keep us on track and accountable.
Sure. Okay. That's actually great. So I like to hear that. Now, the last time we did a 5-year plan, but I'm reading in here that we're only going to do a 3-year plan at this time.
Right.
Is that what we decided?
We talked about that.
Yeah, we agreed
Is
to
that what we
that.
decided on?
Yeah.
All right, we'll have a discussion.
These days.
Yeah, too much.
All right, that's fine. Anybody else have any more questions or comments on that one? All right, we're going to move on then. Let's move on to item 3, item 2 about compensation philosophy.
Okay, so the next 2 items in the agenda tonight are really teeing up for discussion of the budget. These are some things that we wanted to talk to the board about and get your feeling on both compensation philosophy and a couple of potential employee benefit options for discussion as we're planning through the budget process. So I would ask Lisa Hack to join us at the table. Lisa is our HR manager. Has put together these 2 memos for us to talk about. Lisa, I'm going to let you take it from here on philosophy.
Yeah, all right. So you have the memo. So as you guys know, we're currently engaging in a compensation analysis project for staff compensation. And this is really an important part of our overall compensation strategy, attracting talent, retaining talent. You know, we view ourselves as the best. We want to have the best people working here. And so part of that is doing this assessment, making sure we're staying, you know, where the market is shifting and moving to. Very common occurrence to kind of do a compensation assessment. And we've been very consistent with doing them about every 4 to 5 years, from back as far back as I could really find. To get a quality outcome from this whole process, we want to know, where do you stand? You know, so as a board, where do you view us as a company, as a library? And so we wanted to have just kind of a conversation around where you as a board view us, where we should stand from a compensation perspective as compared to the market. So I threw a few things in here. Typical considerations for compensation are to lead, match, or lag. So lead is, just like it says, we're leading the market, we're paying better than our competitors. match is equal, matching our competitors lag is paying a little bit less. I think a lot of people are sometimes like, well, why would you want to lag the market? Well, sometimes, you take into consideration those non-tangibles, the non-monetary piece. And so that's why some people would choose that. And really the goal that Mike and I want to get at today is getting your viewpoints and understanding so that once the compensation assessment is complete and we come back to you with thoughts and recommendations around that, we're going to be able to reflect your thoughts in that. So as the administrative team and I have already had some kind of conversations about what admin thinks. And so now here we are. And we really came in highlighting the fact that we view total compensation, right? So we look at salary, we look at benefits, but we also look at the non-financial part. So like the work culture, getting to do fun and exciting work that's challenging, all of those parts, it kind of comes in a balance. And that is something we do talk with staff about quite frequently. Every year all staff get their total compensation statement that talks about the value of your whole employment package. And we very much view ourselves as an industry leader. In conversations with people who've been here for a long time over the years, I have learned that previously, when we did the previous compensation analysis, the board at that time did want us to be considered leading the market and be leaders. So that is where my history knowledge ends. Are there any other pieces?
I think you just about covered everything.
Okay. So yes, I guess just want to have a conversation today and know your thoughts. Yes, Carol.
What is the definition of marketplace? Is it libraries or is it trying a comparison of business industry as a whole? Because that will change my thinking.
It will. So most likely what we're going to do is we're kind of going to delineate kind of by positions. So library specific positions really compared to libraries, those that are more general industry positions, perhaps it'll be a mix of library and business information coming together.
Because see, what I would like, my feeling is, as far as libraries go, we should lead.
Okay.
As far as the whole marketplace, match.
Okay.
We go back to history. When I was put on the board, we used to have a very smart gentleman who sat in the president's chair called Dick Johnson, who always said to us, it is our responsibility here. We want to be one of the best to always lead. But I would concur with Carol that we should be leading in the library world and not necessarily in the industry. So I think leading is important. I think we are far and away one of the best libraries in the country. You only get that way by paying your people to be far and best the best in their industry. So I would concur with that.
Thank you. And some of this I wrote down before. And I guess thinking about it two different ways, whether it's a library position or sort of a consumer advocate or customer service position would be different. But my initial inkling was match, because matching in terms of salary is one thing, but our total package, because at a certain level, I feel like, and I know it's a tight job market, but working for the best library and having a great work-life balance and a great culture and a good purpose and doing interesting projects and having great benefits, like I'm not sure every library has the access to mental health that I know we added during COVID and seems to be, used, which is awesome. I don't know. So I guess my inclination was I definitely want to match what everyone else is doing, but as stewards of taxpayer money, I don't think we should pay more unless you're talking about leading, being one of the top 10 in compensation. But if you're talking about being the absolute leader, I don't know.
Well, if you would look at the salaries of libraries, which I keep an overview on, as jobs come up on Rails, and I got all the emails. And, matching with, yeah, it's not enough. There are some libraries that you would be surprised at what their salaries are. Then I was told, well, we never hire at the base. Well, then what is your benchmark here? I mean, if
Right.
that means, you're gonna hire people at all different things, like a librarian one, base salary, that's what it should be. And so you have to have an attractive, solid base salary. And the trouble is, there are just many left. They just do not pay what they should. So that is why I feel leading is not really, oh, we're way up here, and industry is much lower than us kind of thing. It isn't. The challenges we face, even like and we use that a lot in, I'm sure you do here, of the work-life balance and all in IT. I mean, you can go out of the library and pay double what we're paying at libraries, but we point, okay, don't put you on call 24/7, it's okay if the computer goes down 2 a.m, we're not going to call you in to fix it, kind of thing. That's always a challenge, and we have to make sure people we're hiring understand. And once they start working in libraries, then they do understand that. But and there might be, there could be some other positions. IT is the one that sticks out the most to me. I think graphic artists. There's many of those, and I think the competition is pretty high on something like that.
I think a lot of this.
Library, you just be, I will have to say, I'll be blunt. I believe our base salary here at Arlington Heights for librarian one is too low. It was too low. And that has been my goal at Gale Borden, is to keep raising that and getting that up. We're about 54.6 now for base librarian. And Barrington edges us out. I think they're 55, but to me, that's a very reasonable salary, requiring a master's degree in library science. So I would like to see that.
And I agree. I'm sorry.
So,
I think we as a board need to be fiscally responsible with the taxpayers' money. However, our staff works amazingly hard, and we have amazingly talented people here, and we want to keep them, and we want to continue to draw, the best talent. And, sometimes the grass just looks greener, and sometimes it is greener. And I think libraries as a whole underpays just in general. What those skills out in the commercial world might fetch. And there is a difference in the work-life balance. I totally agree. But if we're going to continue to keep that kind of talent, and if you look at everything that's happening in the world right now with inflation and cost of goods, and just fast food restaurants, like you can't go to a fast food restaurant these days and not spend at least $10 to $15 on a frickin' fast food crap, excuse my language. That's not a sit down place. So I think we just need to kind of keep in mind that our world is continuing to change, and we can't go hog wild and match maybe what the commercial industries are. I do think that helping to maintain Arlington Heights as, the most forefront leader library, that we need to make sure that we are paying our staff to reflect that.
One of the benchmarks that I've used is look at the school district and what do they pay master's degree. That's always my, base salary for clerk and master's and librarian one. Those are the two. Then I build off of that. But you look at that, and I'll bet that they're paying more than the library is for a master's degree, experience.
sure.
Yeah, no, I thanks for all the comments. I kind of echo what everyone's saying. My first inclination was to lead as thinking that what we have here to offer, and it has it is leading in the industry. And even with the programs that we do offer, it attracts people not just from Arlington Heights. The Teen Film Fest had kids from, Highland Park, I think, was one of the finalists. And so we're doing a service. I mean, we're here, and these are the staff members that we're paying to create these programs that not only resonate in our community, that the surrounding communities, and it is a ripple effect. And equally, those programs get grants. I mean, it brings more funding too, that we can also, help, what is the word? Fill, just to fund things. But the other thing is, as long as, I think it'd be understandable that if there was ever a concern for budget, like we would come back to the table and be like, well, what are we looking at here? But assuming that the budget's in good standing, I would also say that to be a leader in the market. And the last comment is that libraries just seem to be facing so much more now with the different community members coming in, and just like other professions are being asked to wear multiple hats and not just using their MLS degree, but also in social work, understanding where how to help somebody who is needs assistance. So I think we need to keep that in mind too, that we're asking our employees to be that forefront for our community.
I think the one point we can all agree on completely is that we don't want to lag. And I think the other point that we can all agree on is that as a library, I'm not talking about salaries, but as a library, we want to lead. We want to be that driver. But so the question becomes, how do you get there? With staff. A couple of you, me and Eddie both made the point about, taxpayer dollars. It's a reality that as elected officials, the 6, 7 of us, we have to be cognizant of it at every single time. And that's the reason why you're going to find a somewhat similar position that you're going to find in the public world, in the private world. They are typically going to pay more. It's one of the unfair realities that you've got in this particular world. So, having said that, and then you got to take on another thing you think about. What is it? The average that they save for salaries as a percentage of your budget is supposed to be 70%, I believe, right? Mm-hmm. And we're at 72% right now, if I've got the number correct. So we're right there. So we're doing based on what we're supposed to be doing. All right. Now going forward, though, we want to be a leader. We want to be a leader as a library for the programs and the offerings and everything that we give. And we do know to do that, we have to have talent. And when you said it, or all you said it, we have incredible talent here, right? And we want to make sure that we don't lose anybody because of salary. If they get a promotion, if they get a great opportunity, that's one thing. But we don't want to leave because of salary. And we don't want, as we're bringing in people, we don't want to lose somebody because it's who's a good talent because of salary. So I think it's one of those really tricky things to answer. We do have to be cognizant of the taxpayer dollar, always. But at the same time, we do want to pay for the top talent to come in here to help us drive where it's going forward. So I'm not going to give you a real answer between whether I think we should lead or whether it should match, mainly because I think we have to kind of take it almost as when the survey comes back, we're going to have to see where do we compare right now compared to where the industry is. And then we kind of have to make a decision. We all want to lead. We want to have the top talent. We want to do what we have to do to keep the talent and to get the talent. And I think for me, that's going to be a little bit easier to answer when I really see where we stand when it comes to it. But more importantly, we don't, or maybe, I don't know, it's more important, but we don't want to lag, obviously. We don't want to underpay. And to Carol's point, if we are underpaying on our base salary and that shows up in this, we're going to have to, as a board, take care of that. And we're going to have to make sure that they are paid fairly for where they're going to be. But yes, for me, once we get that survey back, it's really going to affect me a lot more exactly where we need to go.
I think, when we look at this as a business, and this goes into the management of each of the departments, which we as a board don't, we don't get our fingers in that, right? But it is having the managers of the different departments, making sure that they do have the right people at the right time doing the right jobs. And that, so that we are able to have that person who can run that program or has those skills when we need them. And so, part of it, I think, is, I've gone through this with my own business, just because they're bodies doesn't mean that we're doing it the right way. And so I would rather, have one person that I can pay more and really gets it and really is committed and a producer and, shows up and suits up and participates and, really works with the team than two people that are just kind of like, and I'm not saying that we have that or by any means, because again, that's not where our fingers go. But, I think that that's part of balancing a budget. And like, I would rather see people that we are bringing on that have value or keeping people that have value and promoting those from within that, we work towards that, we have an amazing, talented staff here, and I want to make sure that they are taken care of because I don't want to see them leave.
Same.
I have a question. So when you do like the exit interviews, do we find that a lot of people leave because of salary? Because they're going to a different library?
It's a mixed bag.
Yeah, because I think that would be interesting. And also, looking at some of the other information you sent, we have a large number of staff that work part-time. Do they all want to work part-time? Would some of them like to work full-time? And I don't know how, I'm sure libraries do it very differently based on their population or their needs or whatever. But, if we're developing people too, and someone leaves to go to a different library because they got a management position, like Jack, like, that speaks well to Arlington Heights, because even though we're sad to lose him, we know that we have such a tremendous, we're a great place to work, and people see that. And so I think, again, I don't mean to say that I want us to be like everybody else. I guess I was taking it literally like we pay higher than every other library, which I don't necessarily think we need to do, because I do think, to your management point, some of the intangibles or some of the work life, some of our benefits, I think are better than private sector. And I think you have to take that into account. But, I don't want you to think like, oh, I just want us to be like regular, because we're not regular. I don't mean to say that. I like to look at it as the entire package, not just the salary.
I think, to your point, that we do have a lot of part-timers that, and again, not our job as a board to decide if those should become full-time. Should that be two people becoming one person or whatever? But I think that we should try to find the budget to be able to support that. Should that be the right choice for that, that department?
That has been our biggest loss, is not so much going someplace for a higher salary, but going for full-time. And there's been a couple of positions we didn't want to lose them, and we made the job full-time. And we did have a couple people who were offered other jobs, and we negotiated with them and kept them, pumped up their salary because we didn't want to lose them. Some you just say, fine, good. And others, you just know it's time, like Jack, they want to move on. And, you don't try to keep them, although sometimes department heads goes, can't we do something? I said, no, this isn't this for them. They need to, we have to sometimes think, I've told staff that, if they're looking for promotion, I said, you can't just think of Gailbourn Library. You've got to think of libraries for your promotion. So you want to move into a management position. It may not be at this library, maybe at another library. And you have to open your thought to that. So.
Thank you, all of you. This is very, very helpful. I feel this will be good for, and to your point, Greg, I think there is something to be said for sometimes you have to almost look at it on a case by case basis and break down individual library industry versus general industry positions. And, you know, we'll absolutely be happy to do that once we have all the results and we can come forward with some more details. So thank you. This was a good start. I feel good about this. Thank you.
Thanks for facilitating that. That was good. Okay, we'll move on then to item 3, employee benefits enhancement discussion.
So we had a couple of benefits that we've been discussing at the administrative team level with Lisa. That came out of our employee engagement survey. And so Lisa's kind of been churning through those with Tracy as well. We're talking about how much they would cost and benefit to our organization. What else? How it compares to other libraries. So we're bringing 2 for discussion tonight, and these are purely for discussion. Again, as we're going through the budgeting process, we want to, there's a lot of things in our personnel line that we consider. Benefits is of course a big part of that. So we wanted to have another conversation about a conversation about these couple of benefits and proposing them. And I'm going to turn it back over to Lisa to discuss these 2.
So I wrote you all a novel that I'm sure you've read every line of already. So this one, again, we want to have a general conversation, but I guess it's a little more detailed than philosophical as compensation goes. So we have 2 specific benefit enhancements we would like to propose to implement in 2023. The first one being paid holidays for part-time benefited staff, and the second one being paid parental leave. And the end of the bottom of the first page there talks about the reasons why. And like Mike said, staff feedback is the #1 reason. We listen to our staff, and the #1 request we get from our part-time benefited staff is to receive paid holidays. So we heard it in the engagement survey. People have talked to me, people have talked to the HR assistant, people have caught Mike about it. Like there's a lot of formal and informal channels and communications where we've gotten feedback about these 2 requests. Industry trends, we always take into considerations both the library world and general. Just what we're talking about, to be an employer of choice, you have to remain competitive. You have to listen to what your staff want and what's important to them. And then just, kind of the overall research showing that robust benefits do increase employee productivity. They do increase morale, retrain and attract top talent, and all that goes along with that. So to give a little bit of background, we have 3 benefits categories of employment. We have full-time, part-time benefited, and part-time. So full-time is full-time, 37.5 hours. Part-time benefited are the folks who work between 20 hours and full-time, and they get select benefits. They don't get insurance, but they get vacation time and a few other things. And then we have part-time who is under 20 hours and just get very, very basic benefits, access to our employee assistance program, discounts, things like that, but not like the big fancy benefits. Okay, so paid holidays for part-time benefited. So as things stand now, the current state is that full-time staff get 13 paid holidays each year. We have 11 holidays plus 2 floaters, and the part-time staff get 0. There are actually 7 holidays where the library building is closed. And when that happens, part-time staff don't get paid on those days. And it is a point of contention because they either have to go unpaid and take a hit to their paycheck, or they have to use vacation time that they've worked hard to accrue and save up. And it's taking time off of work and no choice of their own. The building's closed. They had no say in this matter. It does create a perception of inequity and unfairness. And like I said before, this is the most requested benefit. I do have good relationships with a lot of my peers at other libraries. I've talked with several of them. I put in here 12 of them got back to me about it. And of those 12, only us and one other library don't offer paid holidays for part-time benefited staff. So I thought that was pretty telling in and of itself. So what I put 2 different options down here to propose. So we are proposing that we provide paid holidays for the 7 holidays that the library is closed. Currently, we have about 8 part-time benefited positions that are vacant. presuming that all of those positions get filled, an estimated 2023 cost for those 7 holidays would be roughly $57,000.
But let me just quick, this isn't additional money, or do you replace those hours with substitute staff?
This will be paid holidays or when we're closed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
library.
Right.
It'd be additional.
Right, but what I'm saying is, it's not an addition to the budget.
Well,
Unless you're paying someone to be off and paying, well, the library's closed. Yeah, so it really, yes, it is a cost, but it's not, you have to add that amount into your salary line.
Right, when you
Yeah.
figure that we factor everybody working
Right.
52 weeks anyway, it's kind of factored
Yeah,
in to an extent,
exactly,
you know.
But it's still a hit to the budget line.
It'll have it'll tap on it, and I don't know how much of a hit per se, yeah.
$57,000.
That's exactly right.
On the other one.
Mhm.
but what you're saying is that it's kind of already baked into the budget because when we figure our personnel costs, we figure on 52 weeks. As you know, if the library were open.
Well,
Yeah, right, yeah.
Yeah, but no, part of it, the issue though, is they're already taking the time off because they have to take it off because they don't get paid. The fact of the matter is they're gonna now get paid and still have their time off.
Mhm.
So that is a hit.
Vacation time.
Yes, that is a hit to the budget.
Right. But sometimes when the library is closed, they might change their schedule to make up those hours or something.
So there's gonna be an impact in the budget.
Sure, yeah, there would definitely be.
Up to that amount, but not more than that amount.
Right, not to exceed.
Remind me,
All the questions.
Yeah. If I can ask a question at this point. And I apologize, I know you had, well,
That's
actually, do you want to finish?
No,
your-
it's good.
your story?
Let's talk.
Okay, so what we're talking about you in your chart up here on page 2, my glasses on. You've got the part-time benefited and you've got the part-time. So we're only talking about the part-time benefited.
Correct.
Correct? Okay. So those 83 people who at this point right now are not getting these paid holidays. Now, are these, when and forgive me, after 9+ years, I don't know the answer to this, but are they on fixed schedules or are they on flex schedules? How you would see, how I would think of part-time?
Well, it's a mixed bag.
Depends on what the manager needs them for.
Okay.
Yeah, some have a very set, I work Monday through Thursday from 9 to 4 or 9 to 3, whatever. And then some are, more variable.
Would we say that the part-time benefited though would we safe to say are on more set up a schedule because their hours are more, you're saying 20 to 37 hours? So would that be safe to say? that
I
they
would say the
probably are-
majority have pretty set schedules.
They're
Yes.
pretty set schedules, okay. So it's not as easy for them, the hours or for the manager to be able to take their hours and reconstruct them and put them into some other time so they can make back
Correct.
that money. Okay. That's the question I have for right now.
I'm missing one holiday. New Year's, Christmas, Thanksgiving, Labor Day, 4th of July, Memorial Day.
The 7 that were closed, which are the
There's one more.
New Year's Day, Memorial Day, Independence Day, Labor Day, Thanksgiving, Christmas Eve, Christmas.
Oh, Christmas Eve. Okay, thank you. I guess if we want to just kind of talk about this for a second, that seems like a reasonable, I think your proposal, option 1, is very reasonable. I went from full-time to part-time in my first career in public relations, a long time ago, and I got accrued holiday time. That, again, it's accrued, so someone that's working 20 hours a week is not going to get the same as someone who's working, you have 2 people working 28 hours a week. I mean, I think that's very reasonable as long as it's accrued. Yeah, and not everyone gets the exact same amount.
But no, it's not accrued, prorated.
Prorated.
Yeah, sorry.
But are we going to be prorating these, or is it just going to be, if they're working part-time benefit, whether they do 20 or whether they do 37 hours, they would get the same 7 days if we went with option 1?
So it is 7 days. We are recommending it on a proration basis. So someone who works 20 hours, they get 4 hours for their holiday pay. And someone who works, I guess, what would it be, like 25 hours would get 5 hours, you know, so on like that. We, it's on the next page, Greg. Tracy has all the fancy math for us.
I missed that. I apologize.
That's okay. So yeah, again, this is just one way of running it.
Okay. Yeah, I would definitely say that I'm all for option one. I think that makes total sense for that particular group of people.
Okay.
See a lot of head nodding.
Totally concur.
The only question I had was, I feel like the last few years when we've gotten to the end of the budget, we have been under budget with payroll. And I know that COVID wreaked havoc on that. And we had open positions, someone kind of froze hiring because we didn't know if the world was going to implode or not. And just to be transparent, I'm totally behind option one. I just wanted to see how that played into the budget. Is that, you know, we're talking about, yes, it's going to take a hit, but it's something that we've already kind of, I mean, I'm not looking at the budget right now to know that we have that wiggle room to encapsulate it. So is that the case?
Yeah. I mean, we've got some wiggle room this year, you know, where we're trying to block.
We're trying to fit a lot into the budget, but we do plan conservatively for positions. So, you know, we assume everyone's hired for these positions. Open positions, I think we assume middle grade or midpoint. So we are conservative on how we do plan for that, and we do consistently come in under budget. Okay, salaries.
Well, and I just asked Lisa a question in email, which might be helpful. I was just curious, like, what are these part-time hours? How do they look? And it looks like there's 31 people that work 20 hours a week. There's 20 people who work 22, 17 work 24, and 20 work 25. So that's the bulk of them. You know, they're pretty standard. And I'm guessing, you know, perhaps they have standard schedules like you talked about. I work Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or I work till 3 so I can pick up my kids from school or whatever. So, and again, anything, you know, if appropriate, I noticed that in the budget, we don't need some of the positions we had this year, but if there's ever a position or a department where it makes sense that someone wants to go full-time, which you also indicated that every department has people like that, that would be, you know, someone who knows the system, who's been trained, who you know how competent they are, I think would be great.
Yeah, and that has been, you know, definitely something that we've looked at over the past 3 or 4 years. And we have moved some positions to full-time if they've made sense and we can work it in the budget. It is a pretty big financial impact to go from, you know, part-time to full-time because of that health benefit package. It is very costly.
If people don't take the benefits because of their spouse or partner, do they get compensated for that? No.
Yeah, I'll put that out again. We started an opt-out program, probably in 2007. We pay people to opt out, but they have to have insurance. They gotta show that they have insurance in another way. And a couple of years ago, I did the full analysis, and over the years, it has saved us $500,000.
Yeah.
And it was just, and that was just figuring those employees going with single coverage, not single spouse and family. So that would have been a lot more. And so just taking the single coverage at the PPO, and it saved $500,000. Now we've just started a dental opt-out too. So it's $3,500. Just this year we started the dental opt-out for $500, and we've been doing $3,000 for a number of years. I think we started with $2,000 and we went to $3,000, but it really saves $500,000 over 15 years. Yeah.
It saves, and also if you have younger employees that maybe their parents have better health, I mean, not that they would have better than us, but maybe they choose their parents' health insurance because they know their doctors or whatever. I don't know. Having children that age in their 20s that have jobs, they would rather have the money and stay on our health insurance, which makes sense.
Until 26, so.
Mhm.
Yeah, my philosophy has always been, if you offer someone it for free, they're gonna take it. You know, they say, even if they don't need it or not, you know, or they don't even think about it. Well, you know, my husband has insurance, I'll just, you know, I mean, do you have anyone that says, oh, you don't have to pay for my insurance? Do you have anyone that does that?
Oh, yeah, we have a lot of people
Really?
who don't take our insurance. They
Yeah.
are covered through their
Oh,
spouse.
that's
I shouldn't
nice.
say a lot, but there are some.
Yeah.
I mean, how many part-timers we have?
Because usually then
So,
people,
yeah,
you know, they'll be the secondary, you know,
Right.
if something isn't covered by the first policy, then they'll want that like an umbrella, you know, as a second. So that, you know, if they don't have to pay for it, not they have to pay for it, then no. But if
Well, everybody does have to pay if they have an insurance, and in this day and age, secondary doesn't even.
Yeah.
It's not even worth it, in most situations. But no, I don't. There's nobody that I'm aware of who has dual coverage, you know, or takes it just to take it. We do have a lot of. We don't of those who are benefit eligible and under 26. I think they're pretty much all on their parents' plan still. Exactly. like
Oh,
you
yeah.
said. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
So option one,
Okay.
we'll agree with option one.
Great, thank you. We will formalize that and you know, get back to you with the proposed policy change. Thank you. All right, number 2 then, paid parental leave. So currently, the library just has the legal requirement of family medical leave, which is just job protection. That's all that offers. It says we will hold your job for 12 weeks. Staff do have to have worked here for at least 1 year and at least 1,000 hours to qualify for FMLA. FMLA is unpaid. So currently staff have to use any accrued sick time, personal leave, vacation time, or take the time as unpaid. A birthing employee who participates in IMRF, so those staff members who are 20 hours and above participate in IMRF, they may be eligible for short-term disability, but that only kicks in once they have had 0 pay from us for 30 days. And it's only while they're under medical disability. So once they are released by the physician and says they're no longer under medical care, disability is no longer an option. Non-birthing parents, such as the father, adoption or foster situations, short-term disability would not apply at all. So they really have no pay options aside from vacation and sick and personal time. So in terms of comparables, again, this was a really big conversation with my networking group, and we talked about this many times. Of 24 libraries who all worked together and collaborated on this, 18 offered paid parental leave. In terms of the world, you know, from a bigger perspective, right now there's 11 states that mandate paid family leave, with more being added every year. The state of Illinois, employees receive 10 weeks of paid parental leave. Federal government employees get 12 weeks of paid parental leave. And so this got me thinking, like, what's going on in the world? So I reached out to our benefits broker and Hub and asked them for some assistance and kind of like, you know, calculating some general data. And they had a really great survey that they had conducted last year in 2021. And it was with employers of less than 1,000 people. And of that, most of them were 250 under, so very comparable to us. And I did a lot of fancy math there written down for you. But basically what it came out to is between employer offered and state offered, the majority, 52%, did receive some type of paid parental leave. And I very much feel that we are behind the times by not offering this. We've had a lot of people ask about this. We've had people surprised that we don't offer this yet at this point, just with the way of the world. And it's, you know, the benefits that it's proven to provide to family units and mental health stability and all of that. So what we would like to propose is to provide 8 weeks of paid parental leave to full-time and part-time benefited employees. So those ones who are consistently working regular, 20 hours plus. We did a fair amount of research here, went back about 9 years or so and looked at from 2013 to today, technically to in August. The library averaged 2.3 birth-related leaves per year. About half of those are split between full-time people and part-time people. And about 75% of those folks qualify for FMLA. So they did qualify for that 12 weeks of job protection. Using that same data and estimating an average of 2.3 leaves per year, the average cost would have been around approximately $13,500 per year is what the cost would have been for
Is that 13.5 per person or for the 2.3?
total for the 2.3.
But that doesn't include foster or
Or
adoption, because you don't know that. right?
Well, those still would have qualified for FMLA.
But we don't know that in this number, because we don't really have them. Right?
What we don't have is anyone who applied for formal FMLA leave. I can tell you in the almost 4 years I've been here, we've had nobody that I'm aware of in an adoption situation. I have to rely on documentation from before I worked here, and we don't. Adoption and foster do qualify for FMLA, but if they never chose to apply for it or apply for a leave of absence, I find it hard to believe that someone wouldn't apply for some type of leave of absence during that time. I mean, if you have a new kid coming into your family, you're going to take some sort of time. So it's very possible we just haven't really encountered it in that time frame.
You potentially may, just because people may have thought, well, I can't take it off because I don't want to lose the pay, type of thing.
Right.
When you're fostering or adopting, it's a little bit of a different situation. I get that. When they take FMLA now, we don't pay them. Their benefits continue though during that time period.
They do.
They do. And who is paying for their benefits during that time period?
We pay our portion, they pay theirs.
Okay, so during the entire 12 weeks, right?
Yes.
So entire 12 weeks. We're not getting their salary, but we are paying for their benefits.
Right. So they have options. Many who have accrued time, they'll use their vacation time for it.
Sure.
They'll use their sick time for it, which makes it very hard when you come back to work and your child is in care and now they get sick because they're in care and you have to end up taking that unpaid time later down the line because now you don't have any time because you used it all up. So they can use accrued time until that runs out.
So this 13.5 a year is not including the benefits because that's already a term before baked in cost already that we've already.
And one would surmise that because the spouse of the birthing parent is included in this, it will probably be higher than in the past, which I don't think is a bad thing. I think it's a good thing.
I hope so.
All
Yeah.
these, I have a lot of nieces and nephews that are, in their early 30s. And I will tell you that several have had babies in the past few years and their husbands all take all the time. And it's really nice if they can take it 12 and 12 or however they work it out. It's great for their family. And again, this is another thing that I think would add to the quality of life of working at the Arlington Heights Memorial Library.
I completely agree with that. I think generally speaking, we have some progressive thinking individuals who work here. So we probably do have more men taking time than perhaps traditional industries. I don't know, but
I just meant in the past, like in
Yeah.
2013,
Oh, yeah.
it wasn't really a thing.
completely.
Yeah.
And so I would hope that were the case. We do have a lot of birthing parents come back to work and you can see they're trying to do the mental gymnastics of how do I come back to work and arrange this and my spouse gets time or doesn't get time, all that. Yeah, it's a very heavy burden for, especially when it's staff we value and want to entice to come back and keep working.
One thing I just want to add of these 18 respondents, I don't believe a lot of, so at least some of those 18 offer any paid insurance benefits to spouse or family. I've seen enough surveys where libraries they may even pay 100% for the employee, but for any kind of other insurance, they'll offer it, but the person has to pay the difference between what they would have paid for single and family. Now, that's not the case here, of course, but I've always felt, and this has nothing to do with it, it's just kind of an aside, before you give parental leave, shouldn't you be looking at help insurance for family and spouse and child. To me, that's the number one, and then so
That's an interesting point.
I don't think a lot of those 18, I'm not gonna say a lot. I'm sure some of those do not offer, do not offer any kind of relief for family insurance. So,
That
but they
could
will
be-
offer paid parental leave, which again, one is more broadly felt, where paid parental leave is more locally, is smaller. Another quick question: is the Village Arlington Heights offering paid parental leave?
They are not,
They are,
but they are starting to look at it. as
Oh,
well.
well, maybe you'll set the trend.
I hope so. Yeah, no, that's an interesting point about other libraries, and obviously I don't know the intricacies of everybody's benefit package. I can tell you some of the ones that are larger libraries that I
Right.
talk to quite frequently,
Yes.
they do offer spousal insurance as well. And I feel that changed a lot when the ACA went into effect, because you're required to offer insurance to a very specific set of population. And so I think there are many who do offer family coverage through their
Well,
insurance.
they
plans.
offer it, but they don't help pay for it.
Yeah, and I wouldn't know the percentages.
Yeah, I
of
think
that.
all of the libraries will offer it. They have the
Yeah.
plans, but they just say you have to pay the difference between single coverage and family coverage. Where here,
big
we
deal.
pay a nice percentage of family coverage, which is very, very good.
To me, this is a no-brainer. It's $13,500 a year. We're helping families, we're helping to put them, take one of the stresses away from their life for $13,500. Yeah, I'm completely for it.
I just had one more
Yeah,
question,
of
which you
course.
answered when I wrote to you, but so,
But they don't know that.
right, so my question was, because, when I had my babies and took leave, you had to put everything together. So you're saying that, so if we pay for this, which I think we should, can a staff member then add sick time onto the end of it?
So what we're proposing is 8 weeks. FMLA is, if you qualify, is
Right.
12 weeks. And to
Right.
be completely honest with you, because we are such huge proponents of the
Family,
whole
yeah.
person, even if someone doesn't qualify for FMLA, if they choose to take the 8 weeks because maybe they can swing it to be unpaid for that time, we allow them.
Right.
We don't force anybody to come back. And so, yeah, what would be is like maybe those remaining 4 weeks, then if you need those paid.
I guess
you
what I'm
utilize
saying,
your-
After 12 weeks, does
like to extend the leave.
then after 12 weeks, can people add sick time onto that?
Right, so the intent wouldn't be to have continual time.
Okay.
One thing we do see a lot, and I'm very much a proponent of continuing, is people coming back on a little bit of a modified schedule. So
right.
perhaps coming back 4 days a week and then using their sick
Right.
time to take that 1 day a week off for the next, however, like we had someone who just came back and I think she ended up being able to do for 6 months.
Right.
Take that 1 day a week.
Well, because this is the one thing that I think is perhaps different than the private sector. So all benefited staff get 12 sick days and you can accumulate them again and again and again till 240, you get paid out 240 sick days. That's a lot. That's what
You
I
don't get
think.
paid out, no, you don't get paid out.
When you retire.
No.
So when you retire, you can cash them into IMRF for IMRF service credits,
But
which
that money-
can be used for
Oh.
insurance or to add service to help bolster your pension. But you do not get them cashed out for money directly.
So
Directly.
the library doesn't pay. Got it. Okay, that's what I didn't understand then.
Sorry.
My bad. No.
Well, some, not a library, never heard of a library doing it, but municipalities and
Right.
villages have done it.
Well-
I don't know if Arlington Heights does,
I
but,
don't know either.
or
I
what
don't
they'll
know.
do is that they pay them out 50% of their
Right.
sick time,
I
yeah.
don't think so.
Libraries have
Arlington
never done that.
Comprehensive
Maybe, it used to
retirement.
be kind of common, but I think maybe they've got,
I think it's going.
places have been getting away from it because it does not look good.
I think it's superintendents of school boards might get it.
Maybe.
Say it, but-
Depends what's in their contract.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you
Yeah.
for clarifying
Yeah,
that. That
no,
makes
thank you
a
for
lot of
asking a
sense.
question.
I would like that. I have 8
Yeah.
months of sick
Well, and to be
Paid out on
fair,
8 months.
You do have to be in the industry for a long time before you get that.
Right.
Yeah. Other questions or thoughts around this?
Sounds like is anybody not on board? Is everybody on board? The concept?
Well, the next one, Mike, is gonna be exciting for you. You'll be happy now.
Todd's
Well,
gonna be
the only
upset.
thing I would, if this, I don't know if this is even possible, because you probably put it into next budget year, but it would be a shame if this is put in when Susie just came back from maternity leave and got nothing. Susie's not gonna be too happy. If there's any way to, I know, it's a luck of the draw, but, you know, yeah,
The executive director can always make exceptions.
yeah, that's true.
We will take that under consideration because we do have a couple employees right now who are expecting or, in the queue for adoption and things like
Oh,
that.
okay,
So
yeah.
we do have some upcoming who could benefit. in the
Yeah,
near
I hate
future.
them to miss out by a month or something.
Yeah, we'll take that under advisement, absolutely.
All right, very good.
Thank
Good on
you.
that one? Thank you. All right, let's go on to item 4, review of draft of 2023 budget.
Okay, so what you have before you is the draft of the 2023 budget. This is the first draft, and tonight we'll go over, kind of give you a high-level overview of the budget, and we can talk about some coming up. Tracy Sarah, our finance manager, is joining us via Zoom this evening. So she is on the TV. So I'm going to walk through this, and Tracy's going to chime in as we kind of talk through it and be able to answer or help me answer some of these questions. So looking at the first page of the memo, we'll go over just kind of the budget summary here. Our total general fund revenue for 2023 is planned to be $15,343,182. Our general fund operating expenditure budget is planned to be $15,933,239. We have a transfer from our general fund to our capital projects fund in the amount of $105,000, which, Tracy, do you want to just speak to that transfer?
Sure, yeah. We don't typically, you might not have seen a transfer of this nature presented this way in the past, but all that represents is just revenue that we receive from the Friends of the Library for a specific budgeted item. So since they are planning to reimburse us for, a couple of large items in 2023, particularly the new AV equipment in Hendrickson room, we just wanted to make sure to show that flowing through to the correct fund, because right now, whenever we receive revenue reimbursing us from Friends, that revenue gets booked to the operating fund, regardless of if it's for an operating purchase or a capital purchase. So in this case, in the budget, it's going to be for a capital purchase, but the revenue is in the operating fund. So we're just showing it flow out of the revenue, out of the operating fund and into the capital.
Okay. Thank you. So we also have some other capital fund revenue, which mostly is interest income. So that and the transfer adds up to $112,500. Our capital project fund expenditure budget is $1,154,160. The total combined funds revenue, including that transfer, is $15,455,682. And our total combined fund expenditure budget is $17,087,399. The difference between the total revenue and the total expenditure budget is $1,631,717. Our total general fund expenditures exceed the total general fund revenue by $590,057. And our total capital project expenditures exceeds our total capital projects revenue by $1,041,660. So the combined account expenditures exceed the combined revenue by $1,631,717. Any questions so far? So that's kind of laying out our high level revenue and expenses. Per the 2023 budget targets, which the board approved previously this year, the maximum increase of the operating budget, excluding property, is 5.2%. The amended 2022 operating expenditure budget, net of property and transfers, was $15,151,412. A 5.2% increase would yield a maximum 2023 budget amount of $15,939,285. And the proposed 2023 budget for operating expenditures, excluding property, is $15,834,649. So the proposed budget is $104,636 below that target. So instead of an increase of 5.2%, the proposed 2023 operating budget net of property and transfers is an increase of 4.5%. When property is included, the overall proposed 2023 operating budget increase 5.1% compared to 2022.
But that's
So-
all changed now, based on our prior conversation.
Yeah, right. So the next draft will include those things that
That'd be a lot closer.
What I'm sorry, I should know this, but what does it mean when you're saying when property is included?
So Tracy, do you want to speak to the property line in the budget, please?
Sure, anything property related is something that would, improve the physical building itself or the property. And so for purposes of just like general day-to-day operating expenses, we exclude those because they're kind of like one-off expenses really related to the structure, the underlying structure of the building.
So it's not for running programs. or
Right.
for staff to do
Ongoing
programs and things like that.
It's the physicality of the building.
Like fixing or the air conditioner? There
I don't know if
was a
that's-
couple. Can you give an example of,
You're talking like the cooling towers. and stuff.
Yeah.
No, I think that is included, that would be included in the capital, but Tracy, do you have some examples
is
of
there an
property?
example of
I
expense?
would say, maybe things related to like the parking lot or, I would think light fixtures, but. I think
Repaving the parking lot or parking lot damage?
I think it's more.
I would say.
Like
I would say both, yeah.
All right. Something that if we sold the building, it would be a benefit that we did, and it,
Mhm.
I
General
mean,
improvement to the property.
right,
Like a limited time element, think of it that way.
yeah, okay, thank you.
Right. I think of it differently than like a commodity is just kind of like, supplies that you need to run programs or just to run that day-to-day operations. And then there's contractual services, which are, things that we have under contract, digital services we require. And then property is sort of like that third piece of the pie, is the way I would think about kind of segregating those, and obviously personnel expenses.
Thank you.
So with pulling the property out, we're still, we're under
Still
by quite a
below.
bit. So 5.2% was our target. We increased by 4.5%. So there's a little bit of headroom there. So. Any other questions so far? Okay, so on the revenue side, the revenue account figures continue to follow the library's established pattern of projecting income conservatively. For real estate taxes, we have assumed a 2022 levy equal to 0% increase on the 2021 extended levy. And that was discussed also at the time that we talked about targets. Our loss cost is included in the 2023 revenue projections. And the loss cost is a 1% increase that Cook County puts on our tax levy, which accounts for shortcomings in tax collection. Intergovernmental revenue includes a per capita grant. The library will receive 24% of the personal property replacement tax, or PPRT, collected by the Village of Arlington Heights, and that's estimated to be $167,880. The Friends of the Library and the Arlington Heights Memorial Library Foundation continue to supplement the library services and programs to the community as well. And so those are also included in our revenue line. Okay, personal services and the full-time equivalency. So the budget target for personal services adopted by the board on June 21st, 2022 was a maximum increase of 5.8%, including medical insurance, initially set at 8%. The library administrative team has reviewed all staffing needs, estimated potential pay increases, and included estimates for an 8% medical, insurance increase provided by the library, or to the library by the Village of Arlington Heights. Managers and the administrative team assess how to best fill staff vacancies and work to reassign and reallocate existing hours throughout the year. And our full-time equivalency will decrease in 2023, and that's due to the removal of positions that are no longer needed as of now. We will be reducing by 2.98 full-time equivalents to be renewed or to be removed in the budget for 2023. The 2022 FTE budget was 160.72, and the head count will decrease our FTE to 157.74 in 2023.
Decrease.
Those are positions that we haven't rehired after the COVID pandemic, and just lower circulation, fewer people coming in. We held those positions open for some time, haven't used them, and so we removed.
By decrease, what I meant was actually being below target, the 104,000 or below target. It's a big part of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes, any questions about FTEs or personnel? Okay, Tracy, do you want to add anything at this point? No? Okay. All right, then onto the medical insurance. So the medical insurance budget is determined using estimates provided by the village for increases anticipated in the coming year. Based on recommendation by the village, the initial budget target included an increase of 8% for medical insurance premium. Within departmental budgets, medical insurance has been budgeted based on the current specific medical coverage selected by the full-time employees with each division. So essentially we're carrying over what people have selected for their medical coverage. We're adding on that 8% estimated by the village. Now that was an initial estimate. We have not received as of yet any updates on that. So we have figured the 8% in there.
Yeah, and I would just say that they've indicated that that 8% is a conservative budget number, so it probably will come in a little lower than that as far as an increase.
Okay, then as far as IMRF goes, the 2023 IMRF rate is set by the village, and it's set at 11.47%. The IMRF costs may fluctuate with rate of return increases and decreases. The 2022 rate was 11.47 as well. So the village is setting that rate to help us to absorb ebbs and flows in IMRF requirements, and so they are carrying over that 11.47 from 2022 to 2023.
I don't think
Questions?
the village sets the IMRF rate. IMRF sets the rate.
They do, right. Tracy, do you want to speak to this?
Yeah, so you're right that that IMRF does set the employer rate. They set it, it's my understanding, 2 years in arrears. So based on market conditions, then 2 years later, you'll see the impact in the required employer rate for IMRF. So we already know the market conditions today. So the village takes the approach that they try to smooth that out, by contributing voluntarily more to IMRF. And we sort of, as our administrator, follow their guidance, and we do budget conservatively along with them for that long-term planning kind of perspective.
Any other questions on IMRF? Okay, so the administrative team reviewed add-ons and transfer requests submitted by department managers. An add-on request is required for any increase in a budget account over 1% or for any new service or program. So this threshold ensures thorough and consistent analysis of all account lines and making sure that we, increase budgets fairly across the library. So one of the following actions was taken on each add-on request submitted to the administrative team. So we could either include in the 2020 budget year based on the availability of funds from the year-end projection. So if they submit something they want to do next year, if we have money to do that this year, we'll just move that forward and say, go ahead and do it. That's one option. Another option is to include it in the 2023 budget. Another option is to defer to 2024 or later, or consider for a request to the Arlington Heights Memorial Library Foundation or Friends of the Library, or deny. So those were the options that we have going into that process. We received 100 add-ons for for the 2023 budget year. We did, or I'm sorry, 65% were included in the budget and approved by the administrative team. Major add-ons in the cooling towers, replacement of the staff and public computers, phase 2 of the Kids World project, ADA assessment, updates to our elevators, and texting capability for our online chat service. So those are just some high-level projects that we are contemplating for 2023.
What
Yes.
is the second phase for the Kids World project?
Those are some things that we had talked about early on. That, our first phase was to do the main public space in the Kids World main area.
Mhm.
Phase 2, we were going to look at maybe making some changes in the hub and doing some other things, like adding those conference rooms and maybe moving some things around in there. We're also going to change out some shelving in the main Kids World area. Some things that were not really part of that our initial plan in phase 1 was really to refresh and redesign how the main Kids World area was laid out. We wanted to add that all gender restroom and wellness room and redo the Lindsay room a little bit with that new flooring and sink. And so those were kind of the main things that we wanted to get into in phase 1. And then phase 2, we were going to expand outside of that, looking at the hub and some other things. Okay, any other questions so far? Okay, so then capital projects. So most items were recommended in the engineering assessment or by the Board of Library Trustees, and all are considered part of the library's part of the library's strategic plan. So those were our main sources of influence for capital projects. As I mentioned, Kids World redesign phase 2 was part of that. The Hendrickson Room audio visual equipment is now, I think, about 11 years old. That's a pretty complex system there. It was originally sponsored by our Friends of the Library. We have asked the Friends of the Library to sponsor that again. So that is part in our Friends revenue line, as well as being figured on the expense side. They've not committed to that one yet, just because it is such a large chunk of money, but it is something we're working on with them. We are going to replace all of the staff and public computers. So we go to anywhere between 5 and 7 years for computer replacement. We're on the kind of the far end of that. We're right around 6.5, 7 years right now. So they've been good for us, but they're now out of, they're no longer manufacturing replacement parts. They're out of warranty. So we are looking to replace those. Replacement of the key card system on all of our doors. So the access card that we use throughout the library, that is a very old, antiquated system. We've been very fortunate, which I shouldn't even say this, but we are going to move forward with replacing that with a more modern system. New lighting. What's that? Yeah, I know. We're replacing the lighting in the exterior south parking lot, so with LED lighting. Replacement of the chillers and the cooling towers, potentially adding an all-gender restroom on the second floor, replacement of some of the windows at the Maker Place, and then circulation lockers for Library of Things. So just to give you a little bit more information on the circulation lockers for Library of Things, one of the things that I heard from staff, as I told you guys that I go to the department meetings, the circulation workroom is kind of a cramped space, and our Library of Things collection keeps growing and growing and growing, and that's where it's mostly stored. So we thought, why don't we get some lockers like we have over at the Makerspace, where they're attractive lockers, you can see in them, but they're lockable, and have those items located outside of that workroom, more in the public space. It would draw attention to that collection a little bit more, and it would ease some of the congestion in that workspace. So that is one of the things that we are considering. Any questions on any of those? Okay, then in services and collections, expenditures and services and collections for 2023 will reflect the Board of Library Trustees' priorities of timely access of new and popular materials, technology instruction, inclusion, and popular programs for all populations represented in Arlington Heights. Items to note are some architectural services for remodel of our core entrance, our second floor restrooms and vending area. And those three areas were items that have been on our long range plan for quite some time. Instead of just putting a bunch of money in there to renovate those, what we're doing for next year is putting some money for the architect to work on plans for each of those. So we have a well thought out plan for all of those spaces going into 2024, and then we can budget accordingly. New engineering assessment. So we are coming up on the end of our engineering assessment plan. So this is working with an engineer to come in and assess all of our building systems and give us good estimates on replacement costs and timelines for our major infrastructure. Consulting fees for an updated strategic plan. So this was the part that I mentioned earlier, will bleed into 2023. New door for circulation workroom. So this is something that we're considering because that is a very large workroom. We have a lot of staff working back there. There is only one point of egress in and out of that space. So we're looking at adding another exit within that workroom. Magnetic lock for the administrative doors. So these doors right here, you can get through regardless of if you have a badge or not. It's just the alarm's going to go off. So securing those with a magnetic lock. We'd like to refurbish the elevator interiors. The elevators are showing their age. They
I was
need
just
some
thinking
fresh
that when I
look.
wrote it up tonight.
Did you? Okay.
These doors need a little help.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
the close button needs to actually work.
I totally agree. Yes. And then we have some new digital database subscriptions that we're including in there as well. Any questions about services and collections? Okay. All right, then travel and training. So large conference requests are made each year by our department managers to the administrative team. This is a centralized budget line. It's regulated by the administrative team to help determine appropriate staff who will attend conferences based on the library's needs. And again, making sure that it's appropriately and fairly distributed throughout the organization. The 2022 budget is projected to be underspent. Almost all conferences in 2023 are scheduled to be back in person. The travel and training budget will be reduced in 2023 due to fewer conferences requiring air travel and hotel accommodations. So there is, kind of a pattern to larger conferences being, outside of Illinois. This is a year that they're going to be local. So ALA is going to be local. ILA is going to be more local. So, barring any outbreaks or, like monkeypox or COVID or something like that, we are planning that, staff are going to be traveling more this year than last year. Okay, so in addition to the memo that I provided you, I also have a budget summary of all of the budget lines. So there's a summary of each line as well as a complete budget summary on that first page. I have talked about a lot of the things that are in here, but I would be happy to answer any questions, or if you'd like me to go into any detail on any of these, or we can go line by line.
I don't think we need to go line by line at this particular point.
I think it might be better served if we redo this now based on the previous conversation
But that,
we just had with
The
the
first
things that we
Yeah.
had. I think it would be more of an accurate reflection.
So
Not waste our time on this tonight.
Right.
I'm totally for that if everybody else is.
Yep.
I think you did a good overview in this, in here of all the additional and different things that are going to be going on here as I look through the accounts originally.
Tracy, is there anything that you would like to point out or discuss from your perspective?
Yeah, I guess the only thing I would point out would be on that board summary page. And I just wanted to note how, Mike mentioned that we hold the managers to no more than that 1% increase in operating. And if you actually notice overall, those total contract commodities, other and property actually went down 1.2%. So I just kind of wanted to give a shout out to the managers and the staff for really looking very critically at their spending. I think they did a really good job with, challenging themselves about what was needed. And that's even, with those 65 add-ons, included in there. So a lot of that decrease is coming from Makerspace. So, as we get more comfortable with the expenditures that are needed in Makerspace, we're truing those up a little bit. So that is a big bulk of what you're seeing as far as come through in a decrease versus an increase of 1%. But in these times of high inflation and rising costs, I think the staff did a really good job as, being critical with their spending.
Great.
I just,
Yeah.
just one question, the Village of Arlington Heights, added a service fee increase of 3%. Has that always been there?
It came before my time, but that came quite around the time that the PPRT was trued up with them. So when we were looking at the reimbursement of those personal property replacement taxes, it was also determined that the village was providing a number of services. Like I said, they administer our payroll, they cut our warrant checks, they administer IMRF and perform a variety of other services. So when that was all getting trued up, they also looked at the fee that we charge for those services. And those have increased 3% annually. We do confirm that kind of with the village. I think we'll have another opportunity to look at the costs once we go live with our new ledger system that, theoretically, once we get through implementation, should theoretically have some efficiencies gained with that. And so, maybe it's a good time to revisit what those expenses are, but that's what it represents.
But Tracy, one thing to remember in all these negotiations, which were interesting at times, was that new system was supposed to be live 2 years ago. And they have still delayed that. And that was supposed to be a positive offset for us, that we would have that available to us for efficiencies 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So in the conversations, that needs to be brought up. Okay?
Good to know. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, and I do think that the village was increasing that service fee annually previously, weren't they? I don't think that's new. I think it's probably or
But it was threefold, right in front of you. That's the difference. It was minor, it was a minimal amount, and now it's, supporting two bodies for them, I believe, is what the response to it was. So.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, and I just want to say, Mike, Tracy, anybody else who was responsible for this report for this particular meeting, thank you very much. It's a lot of hard work, I know, getting to that point.
Very well done.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Okay, let's go on to item 5, the long-range fiscal plan.
okay. So based on the assumptions in the draft that you saw tonight, we have provided you a long-range fiscal plan through 2027. So looking out 5 years, this gives you a general idea of where our budget will be and how we're looking in our fund balance over the next few years. And this assumes a 0% levy increase through 2025, and then it assumes a 1% increase for 2026 and 2027. That was kind of carried over from the long-range fiscal plan that you saw previously. We carried that over for the sake of this conversation, and of course, moving forward in further drafts of the budget, we can modify that as well. But as you can see, line T, the ending fund balance percentage is in good shape looking through 2027 at 61%. Our policy states that we should be between, I think it's 33% and 75%. So that puts us in a real good financial position.
Please return all library laptops.
Yeah, there's everybody who's been involved in this board for a while knows this is my favorite report. And that line T, I thought it used to be line U, but whatever.
Got rid of a few.
Got rid of something here, right? Yeah, that's always the one that I kind of look at, because for me, it's it shows how we're doing a good job fiscally, but we're also giving the services to the community that we need. And the 1% that you've got thrown in here for 2026, obviously, who knows who's going to board at that point. But at that particular point, if we're at 65%, I guess we're going to have a conversation at that particular point.
Yeah.
Regarding that too. So yeah, thank you for putting this together. It always makes me feel more comfortable that we're doing the right thing. Yeah.
And so you'll see a slight change in this, based on the conversations we had tonight about the policies and stuff like that. Those are not major impacts to the budget. So, and, we always trying to offset that stuff with other changes, in personnel and stuff. So as you saw, we did reduce the number of personnel FTEs by almost 3 this year, which is pretty significant. But I do really appreciate our staff and our managers really looking at this stuff critically and saying, do we need this carrying forward or not? So it's really a testament to their abilities to be able to do that. So, okay, Tracy, did you want to add anything to long range fiscal planning?
No, nothing from me.
Okay. Okay. So anything else? All right. Let us go on to item 6. Okay, we do have to talk about this. The resolution declaring a trustee vacancy. We're going to actually have a couple things to talk about real quick here. One, let's talk about the declaration. It seems pretty straightforward. Anybody have any comments or questions, additions, deletions, changes?
I technically was retiring, but you can, if you need to leave it as that, it's fine.
Maybe have any kind of comments on that one?
You do have to declare a vacancy.
Yes, we do.
But it was retired.
We do.
We'd be happy to change the word from resign to retire.
I'm perfectly fine. I'm perfectly fine with
Yes.
that. Okay.
Yes.
I'm perfectly fine. with
I
that.
don't want people being on Twitter.
Okay.
Whatever helps you sleep at night.
I'm sleeping pretty good these days, actually.
That's good.
Okay. All right. So the second thing in relation to this, I guess this kind of goes with other, how we want to phrase this, is time frame and process and how we're going to do this. Now, I sent an email to everybody today. I don't know if you got a chance to read it or not. It's just to begin discussion on, but the way my head is wrapping around the time frame for this. Today is the 6th of September. So my thought was we publicize the vacancy starting tomorrow. It goes up in like, tell me if any of this is not possible. Or Mary, tell me if I'm gonna, Brian, you guys should some help on this. Put it on the website. And then we put out a press release to all the pertinent journals. I listed on here Daily Herald, Tribune, sometimes Patch, any others that if we think we're missing anything.
No problem.
Social media, obviously.
Social
And Facebook.
Yeah,
Yeah, go on Facebook.
yeah, and all social media, very good, yeah, I missed that part of it. Does that make sense?
What's the date on that?
Tomorrow. Mary's gonna be busy.
With the idea of the final date to receive resumes, whatever they want to do, being the 16th, which is a week from this coming Friday. So it gives almost 2 weeks for individuals.
Janet's correct.
Well, that's why I put blank in there, because I was, so Janet, does that make sense? Okay, does that make sense?
Postmarked by that date or received by? Or you're just gonna have an email them to them?
Most with email.
I think most of it's gonna be email. I think we have to receive it by that date. I think we need to receive it by that date. And then my
Which is,
16th.
16th, which is that Friday.
it's really quick.
Yeah, it's
That's
pretty quick.
next, I mean, that's not a lot of
I
time.
know, we gotta move this along.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because one of the, I feel, criteria for the candidate is that they will run next April. And
Packets or anything.
packets are out the end of September, aren't they? And they're due in
They're out.
December. Are they out now already?
They're already
So
out.
you want to give this person enough time. I don't think we wanna go through this whole thing just to have a placeholder for a few months.
And to be honest, if you're interested and you're watching,
Yeah,
That's true.
I do think we do need at least some time, but I'm okay with the 16th, but for the expediency.
This is a bummer.
Then with the idea then, if we did go with that, then the idea that we would all be sent the resumes that we have by the 17th, which is that next Saturday. Okay, so it's a simple email blast. And then for us to review it, and then on the 20th, we have our board session. We would go into closed session to review all, however many we get. And at that point, my thought was on we determine, I think we did 5 last time, but I think determine our 3 finalists. We determine our 3 finalists. Then we're gonna have to come in on a Saturday with the schedule. Then on the 24th, we come in for approximately 45-minute interviews of each of those three candidates. And again, that will be, and these will be, by the way, next. Oh, never mind. They will be meeting. There will be a meeting on the 24th, but we're just gonna open it. We're gonna close. We're gonna go directly to closed session, where then we do the interviews.
I can't make it that day.
I'm gonna have surgery on the 20th,
No,
so I have no idea where I'm gonna be.
I could do it
Is
the,
there a reason it has to be a Saturday?
Well, with the no, no, it doesn't. It doesn't. I just kind of. I picked it that way because last time we did that, we did it on
Fair
Saturday,
enough.
because it was easy enough to get the candidates in.
Okay.
That was my thought, but we can do it on.
Friday?
I'm gone the 23rd to 29th. I mean,
I don't wanna commit to anything, because I
Yeah, no,
don't
I
know.
understand, totally understand. I understand
could
everybody's.
maybe, here's a question from looking backward. So
Okay,
we want to swear the new trustee in during our cow on the 3rd.
that would be a special meeting actually, but yes.
Oh, that's what I was gonna say. I thought we couldn't do any
Yeah.
business at a
No,
cow.
yeah, we would just change it to a special meeting.
Got it. Okay,
You can have a special meeting in a cow.
got it. Okay, that was something I was confused about. I could do, well,
And remember, this
Yeah,
was,
well,
this is a plan, we
yeah.
could do it to where the swearing in is actually at the October board meeting. It would be nice to have somebody in place right at that point, but it's not, it's not a necessity at that particular point. So if we need to move it up, move out the dates when we actually do the in-person interviews. But for me personally, to Carol's point, I don't want to go past October. Only
I
gives
agree.
Christmas time.
I agree
Yeah, I
with
agree.
that.
It's just September is like, I'm sure for everybody too, like your schedules have been set. That's the only thing is, so I respect the need to get this done.
Are you 3 here on the 3rd?
Yeah,
So you can do your interviews on the 3rd at your cow.
We could have, we did the
Yeah,
Kyle
we
that
do
night,
that,
yeah, Kyle that night, I don't know what we're gonna have going.
That's a budget, it's a second budget.
Oh, that's the second budget, so, yeah, so we do have to do that part of it. If we limit it to that one topic, and then we do go into session and do the interviews at that particular point.
Maybe that's one agenda item.
Just the-
The
yeah,
budget,
just the
yeah.
budget.
Mhm.
I mean, obviously, if there's something urgent that comes up, we'll do that, but if there's nothing.
well, and unfortunately, do I have this right in my calendar? Our October board meeting is a week later than usual because of ILA, correct?
Well, I was gonna ask about that. Do we have to make, I mean, do we have trustees that are going for the full conference or just on trustee day on Thursday?
I'm going, but I mean, I could,
Come back
I'm not-
tonight.
Yeah,
I'm not
I
in town the whole weekend,
be
it's
home.
unfortunate, so I can't go. I'm out of town that whole weekend,
Oh.
so I can't go to ILA anyways.
I mean, I would be fine with being here for a 7 o'clock meeting that night.
But you're not gonna be here anyway, Greg, right? The 17th or the?
Or the
That whole
the
week,
18th.
I'm out of town, unfortunately.
Okay,
If it's a special meeting anyway, can we just make it whenever we want?
Sure,
Instead of
Right.
making it a Saturday.
yeah, right, I mean, that's essentially what the Saturday meeting was.
So if we need,
So we're interviewing people, if we interviewed people the 3rd,
Mhm.
we could do it later that week, or I don't know how long, I don't know what your process has been. Does it take a long time to figure out?
No, we did it we did it, if I remember correctly, we did it that same day.
yeah.
We
You
Do
decided.
both on the 3rd.
Yeah, we did.
Interview people and name your new person.
Yeah, we can name a new person on the 3rd, I
They
think.
just don't get sworn in until the next board meeting.
that seems,
Yeah. It's only 3 people.
If we have 3
Applicant.
Yeah,
applicants.
there's only one. Well,
I mean, yeah. Well, and giving them enough time though in their schedule to be able to come in too. We will like, hey, you apply, come in tomorrow.
That's true. Saturdays for
Right.
people are tough during
Um,
September.
Well, like
Yeah.
what, yeah.
So your surgery is the 20th. Okay, so.
It's supposedly outpatient, which still blows my mind.
So there's nothing basically, we're either, so it's not the 19th, right? I mean,
We're doing the village board meeting that
that's
night.
right. Okay, well, and that's, okay. So yeah, I was just looking at the calendar and then after you need at least, you need time. So that's where we're at the 3rd. So it's basically, that's the first available time. Probably.
Unless we did a special meeting, you know,
But are you gonna,
I don't know.
yeah, I know.
I'm usually on pretty good drugs for a few days and then I move over to like Tylenol.
So,
So, well, does the 3rd work for the interviews and then the swearing
That's
in
fine.
for the 24th? Is that the board meeting?
25th.
25th.
25th?
Yeah, I think that.
Kind of like you can't announce the person ahead of
Right.
time, and they can't participate, they
Right.
just don't vote.
Pick your packet and.
They
Oh, yeah, they can get their
Yeah.
packet,
They
yeah,
get their
exactly.
packet, they know the village board meeting is the
Right.
new person, they're just not sworn in.
Okay, so we're gonna do the interviews on the 3rd, with the idea of doing the interviews on the 3rd. Do we want to then give another
I was
week?
gonna say, yeah,
So instead of the 16th then being due, they're being due on the 23rd?
that seems fair. Then we decide, we can collect them anyway on, well, wait a second. So the 16th, and then when do we make our decision to ask and when do we?
Oh, wait a second. Yeah, we're missing a. Yeah, because no, because the idea was on the 20th, during the board meeting, we were gonna review all of them, so they would have to still be on the 16th.
Yeah,
Okay,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay, so I think we need to keep it, at that.
Does it make sense if you guys discuss on the 20th? Have interviews, like make a special meeting just for the interviews, and then on the 3rd, you'd be able to swear somebody in?
Well, I mean, that's what we were trying to do with the 24th, with the idea of doing the interviews on that
I should
Saturday.
have Janet send you on a duty.
But we don't, I guess, I'm also thinking of candidates. If several people want to do this and we want to interview them, it's kind of hard to tell someone, okay, we need you in this Saturday in September on 4 days' notice or something. I think that's a bit of an imposition myself.
Would we do it maybe on, well, my thought was to do it on like a Monday night, because we normally meet here on Monday nights. I mean, it is.
So why
Wrong.
not do October 3rd?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay, all right.
Yeah, let's just give it the
Right.
3rd. I think that works.
They can be sworn in the end of October.
At the end of October, that'll be.
So but to your point, when are we as a group deciding who we're going to?
On the 20th,
No, on the 3rd,
No, on the
Oh.
20th, we're deciding who we want to.
the finalists.
Who the 3 finalists
Oh,
are.
3 finalists, sorry, yes,
Right,
yes.
okay.
And then that gives
Makes
from the
sense.
20th to the 3rd for them to work out their schedule.
Right.
And if you can get those to me ahead of time, then I can review and send you an email,
Okay.
because I won't be there that night.
8:45, and I will be closing in 15 minutes.
Yeah, the idea is that you're gonna have everything at least by the 17th.
Yeah, so I can at least just send you an email with my thoughts,
Sure.
and then you guys can.
So the 24th is that.
and just to confirm, the 20th is the meeting, right?
20th is our next board meeting.
It's already on.
It's already on his
Yeah,
calendar.
that's my
We're not
last.
adding anything new.
Well, of course it's on my calendar.
Then they'll be ready. You can sit here.
Okay, so tomorrow, everything goes out. Everything's due by the 16th. The word goes out by tomorrow, I should say. Everything goes out, everything's here by the 16th. By the 17th, we have our pile of stuff. On the 20th, we're going to go into closed session and review those, come up with our 3 finalists. We're gonna have them in on October 3rd for interviews. We will make a decision that night on who we feel the most, feel the most comfortable with. And then by the 25th, they will be sworn in. of October.
You'll have to vote on the 25th and then swear them in the same night. Because you can't vote them in at the cow, okay, just so you know. I mean, that's fine.
We will do that.
Well, now, but is the cow gonna be a special meeting because we're going into a closed session?
Yes.
I think we should wait until to do the voting in on the month, the 25th. Let's,
But the cows don't, still needs, if we go into closed session,
no, we don't need to go into, we don't need to go to special meeting for closed session. We can still go into that. But we're not gonna be voting on anything on that. I think my thought is that if we have 3 people, hopefully we do have enough, and we've got 3 people that we can pull on. Let's not make the announcement right then and there. Let's, so we can contact everybody and kind of let them know
Right.
exactly what's going on, okay? And then they will come in, that person will come in on the 25th. We will make the motion to accept them as part of it, and then that person will be sworn in, and then we're back to 7. There's mud?
Yep. Do you want us to, can we publish that timeline to everyone in advance?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think that's a good point.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That was
Thank
David's
you.
one.
yeah.
did you see that,
good point.
was that message from ILA that there are 9 libraries in the state that are over 90 days for appointing their trustee. So there's a big law there, they mean it. You know, this isn't just, you know, whatever. I mean, they've got them, you know, that. And immediately it said they were going to be putting, I think, ads into newspapers and things like that. And the state library was, I guess, taking care of that, so.
Yeah, because after 90 days, state library.
Right, exactly,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
So what I'm saying is that this wasn't 90 days and whatever. It's like, okay, that's it, we're
Right.
in, you know, we're gonna be
Well, and especially
involved.
with this type of tight timeline, I think people that follow social media, follow the library on social media, and there's lots of different ways to do it, and even groups, the adult discussion group, whatever. That's why I think social media will be a quick way for people to know that don't know.
I'm sure I was gonna share it and share it.
And they share, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean,
Yeah.
if they care about the library, they're probably following the library. If they do
All right.
social
Do you
media.
want this resolution for the next board meeting, September board meeting?
Okay, anything else? Any other? We're going to other, I'm just gonna just mention real quick, you know, reading the grapevine today, I don't know if everybody gets a chance to read it, but they're really cool, some things that are going on. You know, if you think about it, you know, one, the parking lot improvement going on, so that's going on this week, right? You know, flu shots, you know, we're all so hyped up on COVID and everything, it's still fantastic that we're still doing that, and we're keeping that going. And I'd love to see some of those mugs. You know, I'd love to see some of those mugs that are going to be designed, just to see the
Sounds like a
creativity,
social-
some of the creativity of some of the people. So that'd be kind of cool.
Are we gonna talk about John's suggestion regarding,
Oh,
Downers Grove that he wanted to talk about tonight? Well, he
Why don't
put it-
Well, we can't vote on anything. Why don't we wait till he's here? Or,
Well, do we want to do it, or we need to have
Well,
him draft something up?
I mean, I'm just going to say from personal level, with everything going on at Downers Grove, you know, I do support what's going on over there. You know, it's too bad that they're having to go through some of these things, but as a very personal thought, you know, I do support everything that they're doing, and they sound like they're handling it the right way. So that's just my personal opinion.
I just don't think regardless of what the topic is, we haven't done that with any other library.
Yeah,
That's
I
don't
my
think-
only, I wouldn't.
I don't think I
that-
do.
people don't do it to
I'm not
us.
comfortable to step into
Well,
it.
someone did do it for us, but yeah. But
Another library?
But I mean, it's rare. You don't
Yeah.
really do, let them worry about their business.
I agree.
Okay.
I do have other though. I'm just curious because I have seen postings and stuff lately. Do people that work here, are staff getting a lot of questions about questionable books and material?
We've had some questions.
Yeah.
And we did have a gentleman come to a board meeting.
Try this one.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right, yeah. I
We
just,
get 'em every once in a while.
lately, it's been more in
Yeah,
The
we
news
haven't-
lately, and, you know,
I don't think we've seen an
Okay.
uptick in it.
So just people
every once in a while we'll get.
talking online and not actually coming to the library to
Seems
find
like
out.
the Johnny
I'm aware.
West school libraries are definitely getting.
Yeah, but there was a big post
I
in
know
a group
what you're talking
today
about,
that
yeah.
talked about, oh, do we have this book? And to be honest, I try to read those books. Like, one of the ones that people have been up in arms nationally about, I read. Took me an hour and a half. It was here and I was comfortable. I mean, not that I wouldn't be comfortable with it, but anyway, I was just curious because it seems to be more in the news and on local social
Well,
media.
That's why, you know, I'm sure our policy is very strong. You just don't complain. If you wanted to go anywhere, you gotta fill out the form. You gotta be specific. You've gotta talk specifically about it. And a lot of times it goes to the complaint stage and people don't take it to the next step.
And they haven't-
And then from there, the staff
like you
reviews
said in
it,
the
you know, the
post-it
final
note,
say is the board,
Right.
but I've never in my whole career, it hasn't ever gone to a board.
Right.
It
Well,
usually ends with the staff.
and sometimes people don't even check to see if the library has the book.
Yeah.
So why
it's-
even,
It's
yeah.
school libraries have always gotten hit from
Yeah,
many, many years ago, you know, so.
all right, I was just curious. Thank
Anything
you.
else? All right, well, then we do vote on, do we have a motion for adjournment?
I move that we dismiss the Board of Library Trustees.
Adjourn,
The whole
adjourn.
meeting on
Yeah, we
Tuesday,
adjourn.
September
Is there a
6th.
second?
Whatever.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say